Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the channel. And as you can see, we're currently flying the Yak-7B, and we almost become a Christmas ornament in the middle of July. Excuse me. Yak-7B being one of those early yaks that kind of helped cement the Russian bias narrative that has been prevalent in the game since its conception. For those of you who don't know, Gaijin actually is now based in Hungary, used to be based in Russia. And so, that being said, everyone accused Gaijin of making the Russian aircraft overperform. Now, the truth of the statement was that people didn't start realizing until later in the years of the game being out was that the Russians were just good at a lot of things. They weren't necessarily good at one thing, which a lot of nations tend to specialize in niches. Russia was just like, do everything. And that kind of creates a plane that has amazing energy retention, amazing acceleration, some really good turn rates, and amazing climb rates. Now, as you see on the screen, we're actually in a 2v3, me and this Kai 61, and they are going in different directions, but at the same time, their loops are nowhere near going to be finishing around me. I'm inside their turning circle. I'm gonna help this Ki 61. And surprisingly, this P40 at this battle rating is using stealth belts, which I like using stealth belts for 50 cals. They work pretty well, especially if you suck at aiming like me. You know. Although I seem to be very good at aiming these Yaks. I don't know why. Don't ask. And I included this little dogfight because not only do we just absolutely demolish this entire furball, not only do I miss my shots in true plain killer fashion, it shows some great teamwork from a random player. And typically, random players are horrible teammates. Most of the time, they will die within the first 10 seconds. They will pull stupid maneuvers. They just push head-ons and overcommit. And most of the time, they're not useful. Mainly when I use my teammates, it's either bait. It's probably most likely going to be as baits. I hardly ever rely on them to save me, but sometimes they do surprise me. And that is the beauty of the Yaks. Just you saw just barely over his nose. And because it's a Corsair, it's not going to handle too well these low speeds, whereas I am pretty much in, my element here. And that is one thing you guys just saw that I don't like about the Yaks specifically, is the rudder. Sometimes the instructor fails to kick the rudder off a little bit, and you have to manually tap it to get the plane to do what you really need it to do. But as you can see, I believe the Yak-7B, just some historical context here, the Yak-7B was a modified Yak-1 for training purposes. This was not a frontline fighter. However, don't worry, that's my end, so that's not you. However, in War Thunder, there's no such thing as reserve aircraft. There's no training aircraft. It's just your all frontline aircraft. And this has been historically one of my favorite vehicles in the entire game. The thing really overperforms the battle rating. It really should be moved up to 3.0, possibly 3.3. Same with the Yak-1B. Yak-9M could probably go up to 9.0. But as you can see, we're diving on this RE2001, which is already being engaged by two other people, but they're taking way too long. They're not hitting the target. There is a Kai 43, but this is such a target-rich environment for him. I'm not worried about him picking me. And if he does, I'm sure my teammates would be more than happy to try shoot at him, even if they do miss. Unlike me. Now, the Yaks are amazing guns. They typically always have been. There's been a year or two where they were just kind of just crap. But conveniently, when the BI, that rocket plane at 6.7 came out, it only had 120 rounds of 20mm cannon across two guns. Conveniently enough, that's when they decided to buff the Yaks again. And 120 shells does not sound like a lot of ammo. But believe me, if you're good with your aim, sorry, it's my end again, you only need between 5 and 10 shells per target. So you could arguably kill 6 to 12, 12 to 24 people with one ammo load. That's almost double the max size of the game, which is 16. Actually, it's not even close to double. That's only about 50% more. But you get what I'm saying. This thing, surprisingly, has the ammo to spare. Just how easy this gun is to aim and how much damage it does. See, that was only 4 shells. Granted, it's Kai 43, but most of the aircraft at this battle rating can't handle it. They just disintegrate upon even just the shells going past them. Now, we're diving on two P-38s, which have, conveniently lost all their energy. Their turn fighting on the deck. We have the altitude advantage. And that brings up the one thing I don't like about Russian aircraft is their dive speed. Most of them, no matter how high of a prop you go into, most of them tend to top out around 700 kilometers an hour mark before the instructor yells at you to slow down. And you can rip these things quite easily, especially at top speeds. That's a trick I would use in a P-51 if I had a Russian aircraft that's behind me. I'd take it as fast as I can and I just yank on the stick. And a lot of times they would either pull off or they would rip, and then I would be able to reset the fight, depending on how much altitude and what they do. But what these Russian aircraft really do excel at, which is just the main meta of the game these days, is furballs. Like I said before, these things have an amazing turn rate, they have amazing energy retention, and climb rates. Now, it's that energy retention that gives them all the buzz. Cause like the F2A has an amazing turn rate, but the engine is so lackluster, you can't do anything with it. The Zeros are in a better situation, they're a lot lighter. They have better engines. They have good climb rate, but their retention isn't the best because how hard they turn and how light they are. So, for those of you who don't know, basic inertia, law of inertia, the heavier something is, the more resistant it is to change in momentum and direction and change. So, if I were to throw a 10-pound ball at 10 miles an hour, it would have a harder time slowing down than a 1-pound ball. You can throw in aerodynamics and all that stuff. That still kind of applies because the 10-pound ball is going to have a lot more weight to push through the air, and not even just outside of just aerodynamics, it would still have the inertia to keep going. Like if you're in a perfect vacuum, no gravity, the 10-pound ball will go a lot farther. As you can see, now we're in a target-rich environment. This MS-410 down low is actually going to scare me just a little bit. Was not expecting him to come at me. But here we go. 4 guys in front of me. I got to pull right out of the way, and we just extend. We're not going to immediately turn. There's just too many enemies there. You don't know who's going to be where at some point, especially with that big of a furball. So sometimes it's just best to disengage. Especially this battle rating where people don't have the attention span to really stick with you, keep an eye on you. They're going to go find someone else to kill. I mean, you do find that in most other battle ratings too, but this is low enough where they're like, I'm just want to have fun. MS-410 does try to push the head on, but he's pretty much at the top of his loop. He's not going to have much energy. Meanwhile, I just came down from mine. We're just going to go straight vertical. And I haven't flown the MS-410 in a long while, but yeah, it looks like it's not comparable to the Yak. I'm sure it might get a turn with me if it gets on my 6, but in this sort of situation, I'm pure offensive. Now, we're going to ditch the MS-410. The Ki-44 preventing a great target. MS-410 is way too fast. And then I'm a miss. Would have been a great target. As you see, at 660 kilometers an hour, I'm already hitting the reverse speed, and I'm having to pull out of the dive. But we're just going to keep going. Nobody has my energy. Nobody can keep up. The most dangerous aircraft, ironically, in this battle rating is the Ki-44. I've seen it catch P-38s. It outturns the P-30, outclimbs it. And the P-38 is one of the fastest planes at the battle rating, other than the P-63. I don't know how it stacks against P-63, but here we are. Again, energy advantage. The MS-410 looks like he was zoom climbing for an ally, but he just ends up stalling himself out right in front of my nose. I hit him once, hit him twice. Tail is gone. We're going to go swing over somewhere else. And granted, this is, again, like I said, a low battle rating. Don't expect your enemies to be very good. Don't expect your teammates to be very good, but it does make for some fun. Just relax gameplay, because you don't really have to try at this battle rating. Nobody's expecting you to. Nobody's expecting you to be a tryhard. I did average about 4 or 5 kills a game with this plane, but that's simply because this aircraft is just way overperforming for the bow rating. It's been this 2.7 for years. P-66 is zooming up for me. Not going to take the head on. Don't want to turn on the P-66 because that 1-9 will just get my 6. Instead, we kind of roll into his turn, crit him, finish him off. Chi-44 is coming in, and we're just going to barrel roll out of the way. Gentle barrel roll, English barrel roll, sorry, H-75 comes in, barrel roll out of the way. That is a pretty simple maneuver you guys can pull to avoid head-ons if they're that close, although I would be careful with aircraft such as a 190 or a P-38 or anything that has a really good roll rate, because they can just roll pitch into that. So just know your aircraft and know when you can do it. Chi-44 stalling himself right in front of me. Bada bing, bada boom. He's at H-75 coming back in. He's on fire. And I would love to kill him, but he's on fire and I already have enough kills. I'll let someone else get him. And that pretty much is the game. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something. Even if it is just the Yak-7B is horribly overpowered and you really should get it. It's quite a fun plane. Well, I'm setting up for the J-22. Again with the rudder. Coming on in. We're going to get the J-22? Nope. Well, this has been Plane Killer. Hope you guys have a good one. And let me watch me shoot down this 1-9.